Hello, Philippa.
Hi, Cormac. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, but I couldn't get in on my laptop, so I've just transferred to my phone. But I need to actually. I'll move altogether.
Oh, that's
Uh, I just need to get on my phone charging,
that's
otherwise I
absolutely fine.
might lose you.
You had a
And I will.
busy day
Sorry.
busy day today?
Yeah, it's always a bit busy at the moment. I'm very excited that I had an email saying Australia is putting my board. Australian Amazon is putting my book up for a big promotion.
Oh, that's awesome.
So only electronically, weirdly, but anyway, the point being that it'll be all over Amazon in Australia, which is great.
That'd be
Right,
brilliant.
hang on, I've got my video off, haven't I? Sorry.
Hello there.
I'm here.
There you go. Yeah, no. So basically, I'll just ask you if it's okay. So basically, this is for the radio. So it's for Nottingham and
Yeah,
103 the I. So how we'll do it is we'll record the whole thing, and then when it goes out on the radio, it'll be split up into segments, if that's okay with you.
yeah, sure.
I've written down a few questions. Now, there's a few about your time on Top Gear and then about your book as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, great.
And then if it's okay with you, is this allowed to go on social media, just on my radio?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
okay? Well,
yeah,
yeah,
great.
sorry for bothering you. I've been reading into you. It's fascinating. But yeah,
Yeah, no, don't apologize. I'm grateful for you wanting to chat and help me promote my book.
I'm definitely more than happy to do that because I love Top Gear and all that. So, and I love your book as well because I've ordered a copy and it's still yet to come. And I read your online version last night. I loved it. I was just intrigued in it. So I found a few. I was reading the Sun newspaper and came across a few pictures as well.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
So yeah.
yeah,
So the first question is: so you've written a book called Off Road with Clarkson, Hammond and May, but I did some research and found it was going to be called Top Girl originally. Is that right?
yeah. That's right. Yeah, and I then decided that by the time I'd got it published, that I was a bit too old to call it Top Girl.
Okay.
Although then I got Vicky Butler Henderson, who I don't know if you know, she does
It was
fifth gear and
Victor,
the
wasn't
car
she?
years,
Yeah.
and she's just launched her own YouTube channel called Car Girl, and she is a little bit younger than me, but I've known her for years, and I said, I can't believe you've gone with Car Girl, because I said I was going to call it Top Girl, and I felt I was too old, and she said, oh no, I'm hanging on in there. As long as I keep calling myself a girl, I'm still a girl. So I should have stuck with it.
Because Vicky Butler Henderson now worked with Tiffany Dell on fifth gear as well, wasn't it? Because Tiffany
Yes,
Dell
and
was
they
one
both
of he was
they
one of
both
the early
Vicky,
presenters. Yeah.
yeah, Vicky and Tiff both worked on Top Gear, and they were both involved with Top Gear Live, which is what my book is about, the behind the scenes on that. Well, we've all been in the motor industry for a similar amount of time. Tiff obviously longer, he's the oldest.
Yeah, because it was Quentin Wilson and then
That's right.
Liddell and Clarkson, but Clarkson was on it from an early age when he had his afro hair and all that. So he's been
Yeah,
on for quite a while. And then it got revamped in 2002, but Jason Dorr was on it before James May.
that's right.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
they casted Hammond. Is
yeah,
is that right? Yeah.
yeah. Hammond was there from the beginning. So Hammond was there. Oh, sorry, from the beginning of when they relaunched it in 2002. I think I'm right. In the version that we know and love, that even continues today with the three, with Paddy and Flintoff and Chris Harris. So that format, although it's not exactly the same format now, but um, yeah. So Hammond was there from 2002, and James May came in after Jason Dorr. And I remember I was actually at the studio when James was filming one of the first episodes, and I've known Andy Willman, the producer, as long as I've known Jeremy, since the mid-90s. And I said to Andy, why have you got James in? He's so boring. But it turns out he's actually quite a character, but he's kept small by the other two.
Because I'm a huge Top Gear fan, and their personalities work really well. So Clarkson's the lively and outgoing one, May's the more sensible one, and then you've got Hammond as well.
Yeah, no, perfect. Andy Willman was right. They're a perfect combination.
Well, of course they are. Yeah. So have you always been into cars from a young age then, or was it since?
Yeah.
Because you were PR for Renault as well, weren't you, with the Laguna? And
yeah, that's right. But it when I thought about it, and at the beginning of my book, just to make that connection that clearly I was a bit of a petrol head. I certainly couldn't wait to start driving, and I stole my mother's. Well, I took the keys from my mother's Bmw Beetle that was which was actually off the road at the time. I think it needed substantial repair, so they just took it off the road, and it was parked at the end of the garden. And I took the keys and drove it around the rough end of the garden with my brother being a chimp, like we were on safari. He was on the roof.
Because I see you've got some nice cars, because I follow you on Instagram. I see you've got a nice Range Rover and a Porsche Macan as well.
Oh no, I haven't got. Oh no, the Porsche, that's a girlfriend of mine's. I was staying at a girlfriend's.
Okay.
But yeah, I wish. I must admit, I don't know if I posted about it, but I was always anti the Porsches making a big four-wheel drive vehicle, because I thought, Porsche, just be Porsche. Yeah. And then I went in, my friends, from that photo you've seen, it was when I was down there a couple of months ago, and I said to her, I didn't want to like this, but I do.
To be fair, I've driven one, because I do that kind of stuff for journalism, and I've got a YouTube channel, and they're better than I thought they were going to be. But it's like the Bentley Bentayga. That was a good car as well. I didn't think I'd like that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I must admit I did really like that. But I have to say, out and out, Range Rover to me are the ultimate 4x4. I bought the one I have, which is quite old. It's about 11 years old, I think. But I bought it from a friend, so I knew what I was buying. But at the time, I was trying to be sensible and not spend so much money, and knowing that they cost a lot to look after. But I test drove being really sensible. Oh God, what was it? The Kia Sportage, which I'd worked on a launch for that when it first came out, and I was really impressed. And I was in a brand new version. And my other half at the time had an the Volvo XC70. Is that right? 170, the big four-wheel drive.
The XC90, which is the big four-wheel off-road one.
Yeah. And the Sportage seemed like a mini version, a cheap version, but it had everything on it you wanted. But when I went to test drive one a few years ago, it was secondhand, and there's the proof of the pudding. Everything had worn out, and the handling of it was terrible. And I wanted something for towing, because we've got ponies, and my other passion is horses, and
I see you're big into horses, because that was the question I was going to ask you later as well. Yeah.
So I tow. So I don't like towing, because I think it's a bit precarious with horses on board. But the only vehicle that I felt comfortable in was the Range Rover, because it's got the power, the stability, and you don't even know you're towing.
Have you got a V8 petrol one?
No, it's a V8. It's a TD V6, is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. And do you know what? Every time it goes in the garage, which isn't very often, but when the mechanics, they take it out for a test run after they've done the work, and they always come back and say, this drives so nicely. And you'd never know its age. It's fantastic.
Because I like the window stick you had on the rear window, the big promoting your book. I like
my big advert.
Yeah, that was good. I like that. So I do have a question, if you don't mind me asking. So I'm sure most people want to know, how did you get the job on Top Gear? And was it fun traveling the world with the three presenters?
Yes, so it was years ago. I think you mentioned I was working for Renault. I worked for them at Motor Show, on the stand. I'd been to Renault headquarters and learnt about how the Renault Laguna, that was new at the time, how that worked, so that I could talk to prospective buyers at London and Birmingham Motor Show. And I got invited there by a girlfriend who was already working for them, and or to that job. And then I met a company that were an agency that worked in the motor industry. And long story short, I went to work for them, and they put me up for a job with Top Gear via Top Gear magazine, which is run by BBC Worldwide, and they do all the commercial side of the TV. So they run the magazine, and they had a stand at Motor Show back in the day, probably. Oh no, it wasn't. Budget from all the manufacturers, and there'd be the motor shows were incredible, and Top Gear had a few little pop-up shops selling the magazine and merchandise, and I was running those. And they had the presenters, who was then Jeremy Clarkson, Tiffany Dale and Quentin Wilson, doing a like Q&A on stage with a few supercars in front of them to talk about. And so I was actually looking after the presenters backstage, and I became friends with them, and Andy Willman, the producer, and the guy who ran BBC Worldwide. So I kept getting asked to do stuff when they were doing live events, so not much to do with TV, but then I did end up doing a bit with TV. And then, of course, you've probably read that I ended up having a relationship with Mr. Clarkson.
Yes, yes, I've read that. I've got a few questions about that later, if you're more than happy to answer them, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, depends what they are.
Yeah, no, they are. Yeah, they are the sensible ones. So after you were offered the job with Top Gear in the early stages, and the presenters, did you want to keep that job, or did you have plans to go somewhere else and like follow your dreams or with something else? Because I know you're big into your horses, and I think you were a beautician as well, weren't you?
I wasn't a beautician as such, but I'd always been into holistic therapy. So I'd actually, when I left school, I was a hairdresser, which I don't know why I ever went into that, but because I'm not passionate about it, but I enjoy doing it, and I still do it today. In fact, I've got my nephew coming around later, who's in a band, and I'm very flattered that he and his band mates like me cutting their hair.
Oh, that's it.
So I've still got it. So I was like I say, I've been into alternative therapy, and that's sort of been part of my life because I had ill health in my 20s. But cars and live events were definitely, that's where I was working. My horses, I've always had a horse on the go, my other major horsepower in my life. But yeah, my work was definitely in live events, and the motor industry was where I worked the most. So yeah, then obviously when Top Gear Live started, which was in 2003, which kind of evolved from Adam Waddell doing those mini shows with the guys just on stage with a few cars present. They put on a big motoring theatre, which is the photos that are in the book, and the stories I tell are about that, which that tour went on to go around the world to 18 countries, 31 cities over about a period of 12 years. Yeah.
Became the
And I
They were a huge
that's what I
success, the
worked
live
on.
shows, weren't they?
Sorry. Sorry.
The shows, the live shows were a huge success. I mean, millions of people around the world came to see them, and you travelled all around as well, didn't you?
Yeah. No, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it started off at Earl's Court in London and the NEC, and then we first ventured out to Johannesburg, in what's like the equivalent of the O2 over here in London, and then that expanded to have an outdoor area. So there was actually some stunt driving going on outside that people could experience, and then it got bigger. We did a huge event at Kyalami Grand Prix circuit, which was amazing, and we had Red Bull racing there with Mark Webber. We had Mika Hakkinen along when we were in Durban.
Didn't you have David Coulthard as well?
Yeah, David Coulthard. Yeah, he did crazy donuts in an F1 car and raced again. There were loads of races around the track at Kyalami with the lovely Sabine Schmitz, who sadly passed away.
She's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely tragic. What a great spirit she was. But somebody said she lived, she'd packed a lot into her life, so maybe that was her time was done. But yeah, no, we as the book will give you many stories of all the crazy, because then of course we had what I tell the fun a lot about is all our downtime that we had while we were traveling, and we hired super yachts. We had a massive party on the beach in Sydney with AC/DC.
Oh, yeah,
which was pretty surreal.
Yeah,
playing beach cricket.
Yeah, you were playing beach cricket with AC/DC. Because it was Top Gear had it was 350 million viewers worldwide, and
that's right,
worldwide as well. Because I was very lucky to go to one of the Top Gear live shows when they were then called Clarkson, Hammond and May. It was from a 19th
yeah,
in Sheffield, and I've still got all the stuff for it because I've got a Top Gear collection as well. So
yeah,
but yeah, no, it was a brilliant thing.
In Sheffield, we had an ex Olympian, well, she was an Olympic athlete who did the heptathlon, I believe. Louise, I can't remember, I think that was her name. How terrible, I can't remember it. But we ended up, for example, of the antics that went on outside of the shows, where we had, because often, obviously, the shows went on in the afternoon, the evening, and then so we'd get out for dinner late, and probably about 10 o'clock. So we took over the top floor of an Indian restaurant, but it was tiny. It was like a little corridor of a room, but we managed to squeeze a band in at the end of the room, which that was one of our regular antics, was what we called band jacking. And because I expect most of you will know that Richard Hammond plays bass guitar, James plays keyboards, and Jeremy can play drums. Yeah.
So we'd always band as well.
Yeah. We always did that. And then I remember taking on, because I'm quite competitive, I took on Louise at, I'm sure that was her name, at shot put, and we were shot putting oranges down the length of the table.
That's great fun.
Yeah, and a bit of girl-on-girl arm wrestling was one of my strengths.
I'm guessing a lot of alcohol as well was involved.
A lot of alcohol, way too much alcohol.
So the book then, which is Clarkson, Hammond and May Off-Road, I've read it. It's a bit like a diary and a journal of all your times and how you started. So with the early presenters, Tiff, Nadell, Quentin Wilson, and Jeremy Clarkson, all the way up to 2002. Is that right?
It goes all the way to 2015. So it starts in the I touch on the early days in the 90s, the mid 90s, and then it goes right up to 2015 when, like you say, the brand of the show had to be changed to Clarkson, Hammond and May live because of that infamous punch. And it then finished kind of as a result of the punch, and the boys wanting another deal with another broadcaster, and they obviously got Amazon.
Because I remember listening to an interview of yours. Didn't Jeremy think he got a phone call from George Lucas? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and because he's
Star Wars producer.
Yes, he was. That's his ego running away with him right there. We were at his flat in Holland Park, and we were watching a film or something, and the phone rang, and he's chatting away to this guy, and he came off and he goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's George Lucas," and arranged to meet him. And he rang Andy Willman, all excited, saying, because he thought George Lucas was going to give them some kind of an amazing deal. It was bandied about at the time. There was another guy, his name's gone out of my head, but another big producer of films was talking to them about doing a film of touring around the world. So he kind of thought, George Lucas jumping on the bandwagon. But Eric Fellner, that's who I was trying to think of. And anyway, yes, he set off for his meeting to meet George Lucas in a hotel in London. And surprise, surprise, it wasn't George Lucas. It was his deafness.
Oh, right.
And his ego that had created this. He thought he was having a conversation with George Lucas. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was something to do with social media and getting them online around the world on a different format. So anyway, that was that.
I know they were going to go to Netflix as well at one stage, and it was going to be called House of Cards, their new show. And then they went to Amazon in the end.
Oh yeah. There was definitely a bit of turn and throwing with, ITV wanted them. And so it was who could come up with the most money, I do believe. He's
on ITV at the moment with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I'm very surprised at that, but people seem to be watching it.
He's doing very well, and then he's doing his other show. It's Clarkson on TV as well, and then Clarkson's Farm, and then the Grand Tour, which they've just released, the lockdown special.
That's right. Yeah. I can remember we were on tour, seeing the lockdown stuff, and I've seen a clip of them arguing about the Loch Ness Monster, and they all had a big laugh at my expense because I have seen the Loch Ness Monster, and we were having dinner in Warsaw in Poland after we'd done a big show out there, and I don't know how it came up, but it did. And I said, and Jeremy didn't know of this story when I was a kid, so I then tried to draw a picture on a napkin of what I'd seen and explain to them, and they're all just pissing themselves laughing and saying it doesn't exist. There's a lot of
involved then behind the scenes as well.
Oh my goodness, endless. What you see on TV just doesn't stop. They just don't stop.
Connection between them. It's their actual persona towards each other. So there's a lot of banter involved on screen and off screen as well.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some of it's not allowed to go on screen, but so.
Well, and that's why the live shows were so much fun, because they were uncut, and although they worked to a script, and there was obviously an order of things within the show with all the stunts and stuff that went on, but there was a lot of ad-libbing of them especially because a lot of the time they were very hungover, so they didn't really remember their lines and they just bumbled through it, linking stuff together.
Because I was watching some, as I mentioned earlier, we follow each other on Instagram, and I was watching some of your videos where one of the presenters were in the car and they were bungeeing it on a bungee.
Oh yeah, Sasha Martinengo is he reports for F1 out in South Africa, and he worked with us on the live shows for, I don't know, about 7 years, when we went to Cape Town, Joburg, Durban on numerous occasions. And he, bless him, was put up for doing the car bungee, which, as you'll see from my picture on Instagram at pj.sage,
Yeah.
if you want to check it out.
Follow it. It's worth it. It's some of the stuff you post is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's an absolute dream come true that most people would like to go and do, and so it's just absolutely fantastic as well.
Well, that's what I felt like. I got the dream job, and that going back to that dive. So I posted it congratulating our team GB and Tom Daly and Matty for getting their gold medal for diving, and then put up the post of the picture of Sasha Martinengo diving off this. I can't remember how high that was, but that is very high, as you can see from he's out the roof of the stadium.
It's a vertical drop, isn't it, really?
Oh God, it's insane. But he did it several times.
Because there was some crazy...
He did it loads of times.
Yeah, there was some crazy stunts. I mean, Hammond in the Safig, which I saw where they got the motorbikes driving around him.
Yes, yeah.
I saw that one. That was brilliant. But they also work with the Top Gear presenters. So Shane Jacobson, Steve Pizzati.
Oh yeah, the ones from Australia.
Yeah, Australia
Steve Pizzati. Yeah, they're lovely guys. Shane, I'm still in touch with a lot because he actually has relatives over in the next town from where I live, and we're in touch. And he's a big character, very funny guy. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with him. We used to do one of the big things on tour was car football. Which started out in yes, and Shane Jacobson is a big man. Think well, for those of you of a certain generation, Barney Rubble, Flintstones character. He's like a great big stocky rugby player with a giant head as well, and he only just fitted into a Reliant Robin, at which all the windows were taken out of, so his face was nearly out of the front windscreen anyway. And he was very aggressive in his games of football, which then the football became unmanageable because the Reliant Robins would roll over so frequently and then block the pitch, and you'd have to have the crew coming on tipping the cars back over. Very amusing, but we turned it into Reliant Racing when the Stig got in one, a white one, and the boys were in yellow ones.
And then they were in green ones as well, weren't they? I think.
Say that again, sorry.
They were in green ones as well, weren't they? I think the Australian...
Oh, we painted them. Sometimes they were painted to reflect the country that we were in, the colours of their flags. And then towards in the latter shows, they were yellow for the racing with the boys' initials on. So yeah, they were a lot of fun.
So it was a lot of fun. So for people who don't know, you used to be in a relationship with Jeremy Clarkson. It was for 7 years. Did you feel the connection when you were working together, or was it when you weren't working together? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, we obviously connected right from the start when I first met him, having the same sort of sense of humour, and yeah, and then like you say, he's on his farming program, and the nicer side of Jeremy Clarkson is he does like the countryside, and he used to not like people knowing that he was a bit of a bird spotter. That was when he's trying to keep his persona as the burly countryside hating man.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we connected on a lot of levels. But as you can imagine, he's quite a tricky man to live with. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine, because I know there was a bit, you were in the newspapers as well, weren't you, for quite a while?
Yeah, I've had my fair share of exposure.
Yes. Which, I mean, those, and then this brings me on to the next question. Were you living like rock stars and like having the glitz and glam life? Because I remember there was a few pictures in the Sun and Richard in your book of them getting injections into their bottoms after their hangovers. And then there was, you were all in Birmingham in a limo back in 2007 drinking champagne. So I'm guessing you lived the rock and roll lifestyle with the yachts, the supercars, and the helicopters and all that as well.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, yeah, I lived it on tour, and kind of even more so in Jeremy's private life, in our private life. And I had some amazing experiences and met some incredible people, including Harry. I had pizza with Harry and Wills. I have danced with Mick Jagger.
Oh wow, I bet that was good fun.
Yeah,
You've
he
had
actually had to pick. We were doing the twist and I couldn't make it back up again. And I've got old 70-year-old Mick Jagger lifting me up off the floor.
And you played cricket with AC/DC on the beach as well.
Yeah, cricket with AC/DC. Oh my God, we've had Nick Mason, who's a lovely guy. He was out with us. Yeah, because he's a big petrol head.
He's got a few nice cars as well, hasn't he?
He's got a collection of Ferraris.
He's got the 250 GTO, I believe, which is one of the most expensive cars in the world.
Which one?
The 250
the Bugatti.
GTO. Oh no, the Ferrari 250 GTO. He used to have one.
Okay.
I didn't know. Yeah, he's a big petrol head, because he featured on Top Gear in one of the early programs when they reviewed the Enzo.
Yes. No. He is a big car petrol head. He came out to Kyalami with us, so I've actually, on the flip side of being petrol heads, we were party animals too, and I was backing singer while Nick Mason was playing the drums. He and myself, his wife, and Gemma, who was long-suffering colleague of mine, at this big party with the likes of David Coulthard, Eddie Jordan. I'm trying to think. There was a lovely rally driver who sadly died, a South African rally driver. Names have gone out of my head, but yeah, Nick Mason and David Coulthard, Tiff Liddell, obviously. I don't think Vicky wasn't there. And Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond. Very funny stories. Like Richard would often peak way too early. He's a big gin fan, and we were gin drinking buddies actually, and we'd keep an eye on each other for not going too far. But after Richard had that big accident in the rocket powered car,
for people who don't
know,
this was the early stages of Top Gear, where he was attempting to break a record, and
that's right,
the tire popped and it flipped him sideways. This was his first big accident before the Rimac, which happened on the Grand Tour. That's
right. Yes, I was around, but for both those accidents. I mean, not there, but I remember texting Richard after that second accident, and he was in hospital, and I was just texting him to see how he was, and he came back with a rambling text message, and then said, "I better go because the drugs are kicking in," which I kind of picked up in the ramble that he'd sent me. But he's so he is a party animal. He can only last so long because he does have the effects of that head injury. He gets tired quite easily, and he can't stand the pace not as much as Clarkson, who is kind of a machine as far as partying.
Was it like big competitions, who could drink the most or who could like stay out the longest? Because there's a good picture in the in the book as well as in the Sun newspaper, where James May and Clarkson are both on pillows and they're having the jabs in their bottom.
Oh, that, yes, sorry, yes, you mentioned that. That was in Kyalami. We'd had another huge party, and Jeremy and James were about to go and Richard were about to go and race around the track with Sabine Smith, and they were feeling terrible, as was often the case, and we'd done the usual hangover recovery plan of McDonald's, and Richard returned to Barocca and full fat Coke, the doctor in the red ambulance, Jeremy used to call it, and that was not helping Clarkson and May. So I said, "Oh, do you want me to see if the paramedics can bring you a B12 injection, because that is known to give you a big pick you up and can be used as a hangover cure." So they said, "Oh, yeah." So I contacted the paramedics who were always with us in South Africa, whether we were in Cape Town, Joburg, and I knew they had this shot of B12. So I came back into the room and said, "Yep, they're coming up." And Jeremy said, "Where do you have this injection?" And I said, "In your eyeball," which everyone fell about laughing, because Jeremy's cannot bear, if I'm going like that, to just nudge an eyelash out the way. He freaks out. He's such a wimp. And so everyone was laughing at the thought of him having to have an injection in the eyeball, which of course it wasn't. It was in their backside. So yes, they shamelessly undid their trousers, laid across big bean bags, and exposed their builders' bums for the girls to inject them with B12. And the thing is about that, it does work almost immediately, but because of the adrenaline of them racing around a track, by the time they got towards the end of the race, they suddenly feel this big slump because they've pumped the B12 through and out the other side, and they've got to kind of rally themselves to get to the end of the race. But totally rock and roll.
Yeah, Rich, I bet it was just awesome. You being there, meeting these people, going out partying. I bet it was just great fun, and there'll be memories you cherish forever.
Yeah, definitely, and that's very much, the book is a celebration of all that. I mean, I wrote it during lockdown. I've got thousands of photos, and I'd always intended to sort of just make a Top Gear annual style book with pictures and just a few captions of what was going on. And I just got distracted then. There was a message from Jeremy Clarkson. So then I got asked to write it, and I realised I'd got so many stories to tell that it actually wasn't difficult. And it very much kept me amused through lockdown, just remembering the crazy times, and a lot of fun. It was very stressful. It was traumatic at times, but amazing memories to have. And I'm quite happy to lead a calmer life now.
No, if you don't mind me saying, I'm a huge Clarkson fan. I just love the way he is. I think he's a genius. Now, if you don't mind me asking, do you still stay in contact with Jeremy and the other presenters as well?
Well, loosely. Jeremy, obviously, when you split up with someone, there's obviously something that's not good. So I was in touch with him about the book, because I obviously wanted him to know I was doing it and hoped that he'd give it his blessing, which he did. And Richard, I was always very close to. I'm very good friends with his wife.
Mindy.
Yeah, Mindy. I've actually got one of my ponies I bought from Mindy Hammond.
Lovely.
So we have a lot in common. Richard always said that because Mindy's tiny and I'm 6 foot tall, and Richard always said, "You're just a giant version of Mindy," because she's quite a petrol head too. She's a bit of a girl like I am, and in that she drives tractors and JCBs, and I'll have a go at all of that. I used to, when I was with Jeremy, we spend days up at the farm and be on quad bikes, and I actually he loved it. He got his hands dirty for a change, and we had these pneumatic drills, and we were drilling off the render off these old Cotswold barns, and he was quite impressed with my strength and ability with a power drill.
So he just messaged you? Is he still?
Oh, that was it. It was through Twitter. It wasn't actually a direct message.
Yeah,
but
so
yeah, he does me. He messaged me now and again for birthdays, holidays, and. So
do you still like? Are you still good friends? Like keep in contact with each other's friends and.
Yeah, I'm still in touch. A lot with the boys. They're just so busy. It's hard to pin them down. I've been trying to hook up with James and Richard to celebrate my book, but their schedules are just crazy, and they've sort of been paddling hard since the pandemic, trying to work out different ways of working. But yeah, no, I'm in touch, and then I'm kind of more in touch with all the crew that I used to work with.
Andy Bowman.
Yeah, Andy. We were very close. Again, he's another hard one to pin down, but we tend to message via Instagram now and again. So yeah, there's the only awkward relationship is Jeremy and I, really.
Okay, so from reading your book, I gathered that you had a load of happy memories, but is there any in particular that you want to remember the most, that stand out the most to you?
My favourite countries, and well, what springs to mind is South Africa. The boys were always really happy there. There's not a lot of paparazzi attention there. It's usually amazing weather, but it's so beautiful out there. So on our downtime, like I can remember a couple of highlights were taking a helicopter ride around the Cape of Good Hope and spotting huge sharks and whales, which was amazing. And then we had incredible lunches at a place called the Cradle of Humankind, which is arguably where the oldest human remains have been found. In fact, we were lucky enough in 2015 to be shown around this reserve, which encloses a dig of the remains of these oldest humans, and the professor had in another site had found the remains of another species linked, the sort of missing link between ape and man. So there was a burial cave of remains of this species that was like human but had extra long arms like an ape would.
I bet that was fascinating.
We just, and I've got a classic photo, which is, I think it's on the back of the book. I'm just having a look. Yes, of the evolution. It actually happened, and then I took this pose shot. But the boys were so intrigued by this professor, and that we're looking into this hole where you could see the ends of the bones sticking out, and they accidentally posed like the evolution picture with Richard Hammond bending over, then James May, and then Jeremy Clarkson.
Oh wow!
and the pictures on the back of the book, where I recreated it with the professor at the head of it. So thank God we evolved past Clarkson, basically.
That's good. So reading your book, one of the things I did notice was there was quite a few funny titles as well. in the book. So like,
Oh, the chapters.
yeah, chapters, shall I say? Yeah, my
Yeah.
essential toolkit and Call Me a Horse. I found them quite entertaining.
Yeah, a lot of people have said actually that if you just read the chapter titles, like My Essential Kit, everything you need for 3 middle-aged men on tour, and Just Call Me Horse, there you're kind of thinking you want to know about it. And let me pick out Bigger Than the Beatles. Bigger Than the Beatles relates to the Warsaw show we did in the National Stadium, where the crowd capacity was for 58,000, and the Beatles had their biggest audience was 54,000, and the Boys just went over 50,000 for one show. They filled the stadium.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah,
there were massive crowds.
Yeah. And then there's Vodka and Caviar. That was our time in Russia. Not Interrailing. That was because we flew by private jet around Europe. So yeah. Oh, and
Hammond pulls a moose. Wasn't there one about Hammond pulling a moose or as well?
Oh, Richard pulls a moose. Yes, that was in Norway. I'm not going to tell you any more stories. You're going to have to get the book and read it.
On order. Yeah, it's good. So I'm looking forward to reading it as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of these three, Clarkson, Hammond and May, off-road with Clarkson, Hammond and May, you will love, because it's everything they do and more, because it's the behind the scenes.
I've got all of Clarkson's books on my bookcase upstairs. I don't tell a lot of people, but I've got a load of collections of Top Gear.
They're a cheat, they are, because they're all the columns he's written for the Sunday Times, just reprinted. They're a scam.
They're fascinating. I just love his writing. It's fantastic. And so, did you ever do any of the presenting or get involved with the stunts or driving in the live shows as well?
No, I once went out on stage, because we, in the early days, we used to pull a few pranks, and then it got a bit more serious. But on the shows where the producers gave us instructions, and a man in a white coat would come out with a gold envelope.
Yeah.
So I did that once or twice in shows. But no, I've never done any present. Only other funny thing I did was the 20. I don't know if you remember the 24-hour race at Silverstone, where they had their own.
Had them like peony stones on.
Yes, and Arson's biscuit, so that when the door opens, it looks like arse and penis. So I was there for the 24-hour race. In fact, Richard had not long got over his accident, and he was having a bit of a panic attack about racing, because he was still suffering from the effects of that big accident. And hello?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Did we run out of time? You had to reset.
Oh, time. Okay, that's all right. Yeah. So how do you? What do you think to the new?
Did you get the end of that? Massaging.
I didn't get the end of that. No, sorry.
Shall I just say it again? Because it's funny. Because they asked me to massage the Stig. So I took my couch for massage table, and the Stig lay on it with his helmet and suit on, of course, not revealing himself. And they filmed me massaging him.
Oh no!
But unfortunately, it didn't make the cut. It got cut out in the edit.
Oh, that's a shame. No. So, what do you think to the new Top Gear, and do you still watch it as well?
Yeah, I still, when I get time, I actually now, with Freddie Flintoff, Chris Harris, and Paddy McGuinness, I think they've nailed it with those guys. I think they've got a good good chemistry, and their individual they're similar in that they're three very individual characters, and they're different driving abilities, and they've obviously all got a story to tell. So I do, I think the BBC have done really well getting them together, and I've enjoyed. In fact, I remember I've been talking to Extreme E about something else I'm working on. But have you seen Extreme E? It's an incredible off-road.
It's in the desert
series.
electric cars, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And Freddie Flintoff, I think it was, had a go in one for the show Top Gear, and yeah, loved that episode. So yeah, I think they've done well. I think it's time, and I think the boys are, getting to the end of their days as in the format that we're used to. I mean, God, look at the state of Clarkson. He's going to burst soon, and drop dead if he's not careful. Well, they're all old and tired.
There's only so much you can take and so much you can do.
Oh my God, I can't believe they've gone on this long, to be honest, and haven't killed each other in one way or another. But they've got a lot to offer, but in a slower pace. We shall see. But I think they are coming to the end of the road, shall we say?
Yeah,
in that format.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the Top Gear with Chris Evans and Matt LeBlanc and Rory Reid as well?
I did, because I kind of got a bit of a crush on Matt LeBlanc, and I like Chris Evans. I've worked with Chris Evans, but I found I couldn't watch it in the beginning because it was all too painful, because I'd worked with and no one more so than Jeremy was devastated about losing the gig. But obviously, as he always does, he finds a way and is lucky to. I mean, he's very talented, so he's gone on and done well with Amazon. And they had a bigger budget with Amazon, so it's incredible. I was lucky enough to go out on their first big film out in Jordan. I'm sure you've seen that on the Grand Tour.
Yeah,
it was like being on a full-blown movie set with stuntmen and what have you, and big explosives, and being on a training camp for the Jordanian army and armies around the world. Actually, I mean, it was an amazing place, mad. But what was your question? Getting back to that. So I watched Chris Evans, but not until further down the line, because I found it too painful to watch, to be honest.
So what does the future hold now that Top Gear's over and the live shows? Because you're currently working with horses, because that's another big passion of yours as well, isn't it?
Yes, I took some time out after I split up with Jeremy. That was another big blow, because it meant, it was the end of a 20-year journey, really. And I sort of pulled myself together and started learning about equine therapy, equine facilitated therapy. So you use the horses with people the horses help to bring out kind of the truth in people of how they're really feeling. So it's an amazing therapy. So it's I work with children and adults. I've got a day coming up this week, and I'm really loving that, and I'm loving being in the slower lane. And I've started working for Frank magazine, which is a real change of direction, because it's you're gonna go off me now, because I'm going to talk about sustainable living. And no,
that's absolutely fine. That's
no, but actually, I mean, obviously I am a petrol head. I'm never gonna lose that. And I was looking on Instagram somebody. Have you followed Drive Tribe?
I
Not
followed
Drive Tribe. Sorry, Driven Chat.
I have followed Driven Chat because I've
Yeah,
listened to their podcast as well. They
yeah,
just
you should
review.
take a trip up to Driven Chat, the Caffeine Machine. It's a little hotel and coffee stop where they record the radio program.
Okay, yeah.
You should check that out. So I'm in touch with those guys. They're great fun, and I'm planning to go up there to be at one of the recordings, not to be on it, but just to hook up with the guys. And you know, I'm not going to lose my passion for cars, but going back to the Frank magazine, which is run by Melanie Sykes, broadcaster. I don't know if you know of her. She's been around for years.
I know who Melanie Sykes is.
Yeah. And so we're on a bit of a mission to change the world, quite frankly. And obviously the old dirty engines like that of my Range Rover have got to clean up their act. And I don't want to see the end of the wonderful motor car as we've known them. And in fact, I heard Richard, he was at the Classic Car Show London, and he was explaining that, because he's got a lot of classic cars. I mean, I love the
he's selling a load of his collection, isn't he?
old Porsches. We'll see. Maybe I could loan it from him. But that, you know, if you keep a classic car, which I think is you know, I think that, well, it would be wrong for them to go to landfill. That's going to cause another problem. So let's recycle and let's preserve some of these amazing machines, and then obviously keep moving in in trying to work with cleaner energy. I need to research in more detail about the electric car and the
I don't like electric cars because I reviewed a BMW i3 the other day. And I didn't like it. And the Sinclair C5, which was a little pedal car.
Yeah, that was bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that Sinclair C5 was years ago. It's amazing how long it takes. I worked with a hydrogen fuel cell car in 1999 with Ford, a little remote control one at the Millennium Dome. And obviously there are hydrogen fuel cell cars now. And I think, you see, the thing is, there's always a downside to all these things, but we've got to find a better way.
You think synthetic fuels will be the way forward?
Well, I'd like to think it will be biodiverse. You know, if we can use cow shit in some way or something.
That'd be a good idea. It's a good idea.
Well, the biofuels are out there, and you know, we've got some incredibly clever, talented people who can create these things. And so but at the same time, so going back to Richard's comment that if you run a classic car, you're not going to be driving it all day every day, and so the impact on the environment is minimal, but it's good to keep these cars going. With my Range Rover, I feel that it's been made, and you know, what if I'm not using it, someone else will be. I have the intention, I've talked to Range Rover about borrowing the new hybrid Range Rover. I'd probably be a bit skeptical of buying one until they're really tested out and ironed out any problems. But you know, actually, I love the new Defender. Again, didn't like that. Didn't want to like it.
I didn't like that at first, but I've seen a few on the road, and they look awesome.
Yeah, cool. And you know, if we can, I'd like a hybrid one of those to be cleaner and greener.
You don't fancy a supercar then?
Huh?
You don't fancy a supercar like a Lambo or?
Oh, do you know what? I'm not actually a massive fan of supercars because to me, and maybe this is a bit girly, but they're hard work to drive. And I'm not so much the old school ones are, but I've been in Tesla as a passenger, and that is incredible. the last car I drove, which is quite some time ago. In fact, I came across the photo of it, the i8, the BMW i8.
Oh yeah, the hybrid.
And I have to say that was awesome. And so yeah, something like that. But I'm not a massive fan of the supercars, because I went in a Lamborghini. I can't remember which one it was with
There's
Jeremy.
a green Huracan on your Instagram as well that you borrowed. The green Huracan, the green Lamborghini.
Oh, did I post that? Yeah, that might have been.
Yeah.
Oh, that was for a little fundraiser I was doing. But funny enough, I've been in the same colour one with Jeremy on a trip down to Hampshire. It was to do a film shoot for the promotion of Clarkson, Hammond and May live. And oh my God, well, for one, obviously there's nowhere to put your luggage, and I was actually carrying stuff down for the shoot, so it was totally impractical. I was surrounded by everything I was carrying down there, and then it's bloody bumpy and noisy, so I'm kind of done with the supercar.
You've done it. Yeah, and I bet you've been around them a long time as well, from with Top Gear and all that. But
yeah, and it's funny, Jeremy, the real Jeremy would say he hates cars. He's fed up with them. He likes when I was with him, he bought, you've probably seen, he had a Golf, he's probably still got it, the Golf GTI, which is a great little car. And he didn't want to be recognised, so he chose that to drive around in. Did
he have any supercars when he was with you?
He had a Lamborghini. I think it was grey with the sort of orangey coloured seats.
Oh, that was the Gallardo.
Yeah, that's right. And then of course for his job, that's why I had to go in the i8. He has cars delivered every week to review for the Times. And so he didn't really buy that many. Oh, he had the Ford GT.
And he had a Black Series AMG Merc.
Oh yeah, I had that for ages. He loved that. That was a nice car.
Did he have a McLaren as well? No,
I don't think so. Not as a personal car. He's got a Grosser, which is to me a gross.
The green one. The green. Yeah, which featured on Top Gear with James May's Rolls Royce Corniche.
Yeah. I'm not. I mean, I like the story behind the old cars. But I wasn't a fan of the Grosser. Quite comical in a way that you bounce along in it. But I'm remembering another road trip we did in an Audi TT, fairly new. Well, it must be 5 years ago now, but I like the Audi TT. That's a bit girly, I know, but anyway, could go on and on talking about my. Like I say, going back to Land Rover, when I split up with Jeremy, actually, because he helped me buy a Evoque, Range Rover Evoque, and I wanted to get rid of it and have something that was mine. And I decided to have some fun. And because I wasn't going to be traveling around the country so much, I got a Defender, which was great fun. And I always wanted one. Love my Defender. I'd like it. I guess if my dream garage would be a Porsche convertible. Probably a 911. I'd obviously want to go and test drive and see what I felt right in. Definitely a Porsche, a Range Rover, and a Defender.
Okay. Yeah, I think my dream garage would be, well, I had my Rolls Royce last year. I had my blue one.
I saw that.
Yeah, bought it because I write for Rolls Royce. I did a few articles for them. A Rolls Royce Phantom, a Range Rover as well, and then as a daily, probably a Golf R.
Oh yeah, I'll be with you on that. God, love a good, yes,
Or
yeah,
an A45 AMG, because I've driven a CLA 45 AMG, which is the bigger version, and they're just
yeah,
great cars. But a Golf R was fantastic.
yeah, love a Golf.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I've had lots of Golfs in my time. In fact, was that up on? I saw it on. I think it was on Driven Chat. The Mark One Golf. I had one of those. Well, it was my brother's, but I used to borrow it.
I bet you
Mark
wish.
One Golf.
I bet you wish you kept that.
Yeah, exactly. Loved that. And then I had the pleasure of when I was working for the agency that worked with in the motor industry. I had my boyfriend at the time had a. Oh no, I think it was part of our company cars. So I had the was it the VR6? It's like the R, but it was called the VR6.
Yeah, yeah.
And I famously, I was going on a trip and I blooming got to Heathrow and I forgot my passport. So luckily I had the VR6 and was able to get back home and back again in very quick time.
They are quick cars, they are, yeah. Because it was like rivaled the 190 Cosworth Mercedes.
Oh yeah, I love the Cosworth. Yeah.
Cosworth, yeah. So from all your times on Top Gear, I'm sure you've got a load of memories that you can't put into the book. Is there going to be another one coming? Is there going to be a prequel?
There might well be. I might well be meeting my publisher this week. I don't know. I've definitely got the bug for writing, and I've got plenty of stories to tell. So watch this space.
Okay. Oh, look forward to seeing that. So for the people who missed it, your book's called Off Road with Clarkson, Hammond and May, and it's about your time and your memories from when you were with Clarkson and working with Top Gear, and it's available on Amazon online as ebook and paperback as well, and it's available in all bookstores. Is that right?
Yeah, like Waterstones. It's available in Australia, New Zealand, and America too at the moment. But yeah, lots of online stores, not just Amazon, and some of the bookstores as well.
Because it's 75,000 words. Was there a lot of pressure for that, or was it quite stressful writing? And do you have any advice to people who want to start writing a book as well?
Yeah, interesting, because it's my first book, and you obviously need to come up with a plan of your beginning, your end, and your middle. I think I always knew how I'd start it with obviously a bit of an introduction as to why I was in that business and what my interest in cars was, and then obviously it was quite an easy book to write because it was, you know, I had all the photographs, so they prompted me on the stories. Obviously writing a novel or something, you've got to do a lot of research. I did have to do a lot of research because my memory, I couldn't remember it all, you know, with facts on the cars and things.
You have to contact Hammond and May and Clarkson for some memories as well, so they could help you write it down.
Do you know what? I don't think that was the famous line when I told Jeremy. He said, "Oh, well done you for remembering everything I've forgotten," because they go and Richard and they certainly Richard and James and the tour manager enjoyed the trip down memory lane, remembering all the crazy things and the fun we had, because their life is at such a high speed that they forget what they've done. So no, I didn't consult them because they literally wouldn't remember. No, I did it all by myself. And yeah, pressure. I mean, you just have to, again, for advice, you just got to, I sort of broke it down, knew that I'd got to do something like 5,000 words a week. I had 3 months to write it. It was during lockdown. I didn't have any other work. I actually was caring for my dad and who's disabled and my son who's disabled. Yeah, it was.
Your son, you went to that show. He seems very interested in all that kind of stuff because you went to that.
Oh, he loves. Yeah, he loves the cars. He loves cars and he loves horses, so he's a chip off the old block.
Bring him to Silverstone next week. We've got a big Rolls. There's a big car show going on over there next week.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a week off from childcare, so I'm off down to Devon. But otherwise, yeah. So
that'd be nice. Well, thanks for today, Philippa. I've just got a few personal questions regarding interviews now. When we're allowed back in the studio, is it okay if I could get you in for an interview in one of the radio studios as well, if that's okay?
Yeah, cool.
Is that all right with you?
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Because I'd like that as well. Because I do a few radio stations because I'm Leicestershire.
Yeah.
So I'm Nottingham. I do the hospital radio, so it goes out the whole of Nottingham. And then I do a community radio as well, which this will go on, if that's okay with you. Now,
yeah, great.
If there's anything you don't want in there, we can cut it out if that's okay.
No, I'm not worried. I wouldn't say anything I didn't mean.
Yeah.
Just ping me an email with the because I'll let me know when you created it, and I'll put it on my Instagram link tree thing.
Yeah, is that okay?
You know how I can link into it.
So what I'll do, I'll get that all sorted out. And what I wanted to do, if it's okay with you, could I put this onto Instagram as well, and then I'll tag you in it if that's okay with you?
Yeah. Have you done a screenshot? My you know, some people I did a podcast the other week, and he was a young lad was doing it, and he took a screenshot. So then he
on a MacBook. Oh, it's Command Shift 4, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I've got it. Yeah, we'll do it now. There we go.
And then you can use that as your Instagram.
Yes, and if that's okay with you, I'll put that on today, actually.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah,
all right,
thanks for checking if I was okay on my crash as well. So I came out of hospital on Wednesday and I'm still having back problems and all that.
I'm sure you need to look after yourself there, because that'll be the reality of it. Here I go into my holistic medicine, but that, you know, you got a lot of healing to do, because that's a big body shock.
I know it is, but they said if I was in any of the other cars, it probably would have been a lot worse, because it would have kept going.
What was it? What car were you in?
I was just in the Citroen, because my Rolls Royce has gone in for an MOT, and if it was in that, it would have been a lot worse instead.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have had all the protection.
It's a 3-ton car, isn't it, as well? So.
Yeah.
Look, is there any way I could get in, do an interview with Hammond and May, or is that not going to be possible?
Unfortunately, I would doubt it. The thing is, they won't do
interviews,
smaller radios, because they don't feel there's a worth in it, and then their schedules are just crazy.
But no, if I could get you in the studio when COVID's over as well, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. Just stay in touch. But let me know the links for the radios when you put them out, and I'll Instagram it as well.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. And I've got. Did you get my text message? Because I just sent you it. I sent you a message via phone as well, to connect you to this, because I didn't know if you got my email or not.
Oh yes, I did. Yes.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay.
But
thanks,
I've really
Cormac.
enjoyed it today. Thank you very much, Philippa. And
yeah.
I'll stay in touch with you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
lovely
perfect.
to chat.
Thank you very much.